What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Monsterarts Yu-Gi-Oh! Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, Jaden Yuki's signature, or one of his signature monsters from the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series, and one of the most popular monsters, in my opinion, from that era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And speaking of Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, for comparison, today I did bring out my Elemental Hero Flame Wingman card. So we'll definitely use this in the comparison. You can take a look at it. But even just looking off the rip, you can tell that the figure is very, very faithful to how the card looks and how it looked in the anime as well. So really, really cool. But again, we'll get into that. But I just wanted to make that clear. I do have the card right here for comparison later in the video. But taking a look at the box, you can see some really nice product shots here of Elemental Hero Flame Wingman with his massive dragon head, his angel wings on there, his dragon tail, the green body with a little bit of the red and the green pecs there, the silver as well. Really, really cool stuff. You got the Bandai Namco logo right here, SH Monsterarts E-Hero, Elemental Hero, Tamashii Nations, Bandai got all that here, I believe. And this is more Tamashii Nations right here. Got some more nice product shots here, very similar to how the card is. Got some more nice product shots here, the red instead of the green. And then here is the rest of your obligatory product shots that you usually like to see. Very nice box again. You know, you got some nice stuff here. It comes with an awesome flame effect part, which will definitely interest. It comes with a little stand as well, a couple extra hands. But again, we'll talk about that in the actual review. So without further ado, folks, I think that's it for the box. It's absolutely amazing as per usual. So, alrighty folks, here we have the SH Monsterarts Yu-Gi-Oh! Elemental Hero Flame Wingman out of the box. And I gotta say, guys, when you're comparing this guy to the card, he looks pretty damn spot on. I mean, this guy looks really, really good from a visual perspective, and it's really, really cool. Now, the paint, despite it being really solid, also just isn't, like, amazing, right? It's not like there's a ton of shading ever or anything like that. He does have some nice, like, very much looks like gradient or dry brushing on it. It does look really solid, and the paint where it is does look nice. It's just, it's not like jaw-droppingly amazing. But taking a look at the details here with Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, the head is really, really cool. You can see the very nice red detailing there, red for the eyes, red for the rest of the head crest. You can see the nice, like, I guess they're the closest thing I can compare them is like elf-style ears, the nice red and the green chest. Got the nice detail here on the arm. That looks really, really cool. Taking a look at the wings, they do have some shading in there. You can see some really nice shading actually all throughout. Looks really, really good. Seeing the nice spikes as well here for those wings. See nice detailing here for the other arm that isn't the dragon head. The nice greens, right? Here it is with the dragon head, though. The dragon head looks really, really nice. See some nice detailing here. We're going to bend it just so you guys can take a look at it. See the nice eyes. The mouth opens and closes, as you can see, like this. There you go. Very nice overall. Abs look really, really nice as well. Crotch piece. This all looks really, really good. Overall, really, really solid. You can come down here to the legs. Very akin to the one arm. And then taking a look at the tail. Looks really, really nice. This reminds me, for those of you who know Gundam, the tail very much reminds me of the Gundam Epion's flame whip that's attached to its shield. So I'll put a picture of that on screen right now. As you guys can see what I'm talking about, but the way that the tail for this guy's design reminds me a lot of Gundam Epion's Flame Whip, especially because I have the model kit for the Gundam Epion. But yeah, the Master Grade one and the Real Grade one. The Real Grade one's actually, like, it's literally right below my review station right now. It's literally, I'm poking it right now. But yeah. When it comes to the details and stuff like that, actually, the one thing we didn't take a look at is more of the back. The back is pretty clean, but again, the beauty with, I guess, Elemental Hero Flame Wingman's design is the fact that it's asymmetrical. I think it's pretty cool that it is asymmetrical. It gives this figure a lot of character, but the issue that I have with it being asymmetrical, and I don't think that this is really necessarily a fault on Bandai itself, but when it comes to asymmetrical designs, that calls for some weird things when it comes to being a figure. Now, obviously, there have been plenty of figures that have been asymmetrical designed characters that have worked. It's just for Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, what I'll tell you is that this guy can stand on his own 2 feet without the tail, but you have to, like, balance him perfectly, and because a lot of his girth is in the upper part of his body, it makes him pretty top heavy, and so it's pretty easy for him to, like, if you were to just move the tail a little bit, yeah, you can see this guy already wants to fall over. Now I've gotten him to stand up on his own without the use of the tail, but it requires a lot of balancing and managing how his wings are and everything like that. And it's better to just use his tail as his balance. Now, luckily, he does come with the stand, which we'll obviously address later. But overall, when it comes to the detail of this guy, the paint, everything like that, despite it not being, like, amazing, like, you have some shading with the greens, a little bit of shade. You have, like, a lot of shading, actually, on the wings in particular. Not really anything on the reds all that much. But overall, he does look really, really good. And even those, the silver chrome bits for the claws on his feet, the claws on his hands, they also look really, really nice. Again, I think it's solid, just not, again, jaw-dropping overall. All right, so we are going to be doing a comparison, and I would get out Blue Eyes or Red Eyes, because obviously they are the other Yu-Gi-Oh monsters, but they're just in a precarious spot because if I move them, I'm afraid they'll bump into each other and then they'll fall apart, or at least like the effect parts will fall apart, and I just don't want to deal with that right now, especially because the shelf that they're on, I'm trying to reorganize that shelf at some point soon, and so I don't want to have to move them and move them back and then move them back again, you know, type thing. I'd rather just leave them there, and so the only comparison we're going to do for the time being, so we're going to set Elemental Hero Flame Wingman off to the side here. Here he is with Magnius. And so when it comes to Magnius, the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Magnius, you can see the general scale. He's about like a Voyager-ish size Transformer. If you have like Godzilla figures, this guy scales with those monsters as well. Like you have that 6-7 inch scale. So overall, this guy is pretty heftily scaled. It's just when it comes to Monsterarts, I get why they're putting it in Monsterarts because it's dual monsters, right? And the same thing for Dark Magician, it's dual monsters. I get that he is a humanoid character, and this is more of a humanoid more than any of the other Yu-Gi-Oh stuff we've gotten with the two dragons, right? But definitely, it's a bit weird to say, but at the end of the day, this guy scales with all those 6 and 7 inch scale figures. So just to give you guys an idea of how big this guy is. Alrighty, folks, and now time for the articulation. Now I'm going to try to not screw this up like I did Destroya. I know I added in my little, I think I'm going to add in a voiceover to that. I still haven't edited that review at the time of this recording. But I did screw up. I didn't show you the articulation for the wings, and I got lazy with the waist. So my apologies for that. So we're going to try our best here to make sure I get all the articulation again this time. It's one of those things where, like, I'm reviewing something, and I know I want to say all these things, and then when I get to actually recording, I forget them a lot of the time. So my apologies for that in the previous review. We're going to try and do it the best here. So, getting into the articulation, it's actually pretty solid for this guy. It's just weird, again, just due to the fact that he's asymmetrical and how you have to balance him to get him to stand because he is asymmetrical. And because a lot of the girth is in this dragon head and in the wings. But the head is on the ball joint, so you can do a full 360. You can look down really, really far. You can look up, not that crazy, but you can look up a little bit. The arms will do a full 360, so we'll do the dragon head first. So it's a full 360. You have rotation here at the upper part, like right below the shoulder. You have another rotation at the elbow. Then you can bend like this, and then you can also twist. And then the other thing too is, like I showed you, the dragon head mouth opens and closes like this. So very, very cool. Again, it looks fantastic, and you can get the awesome poses out of this guy. For these wings, they are on like this ball joint type thing here, and then this wing is attached to this wing via another one of those things. I don't know if you can see that right there, but these can twist and stuff like that, so you can get like decent movement out of these. These go up and down, but generally you kind of keep it like this, but they can have some more movement, like if you wanted to do something like this or something like that, you can do that. Arms will do a full 360 again. The regular arm will. It's just obviously the wings will block it. You can also bend the wings to go like this if you do want to actually get that full range of motion. You do have a butterfly joint on both sides. I forgot to point that out. You have a butterfly joint. Another rotation here. You have bend at the elbow, way more than 90. You have wrist articulation here because you have a ball joint at the wrist, so you can get all the movement that you wish to do. And then you have rotation here once again. Now for the waist, you have rotation, and there goes his body. Now, that's the first time it's happened to me, but yes, you do have rotation. Just be careful when you're doing it. You can kick forward, you can kick back. You have a bend at the knee, more than 90. Rotation, a little bit of rotation here. You also have ab crunch, but it's not the biggest ab crunch. Like it's enough, right? Like you can get that and that and that and that. Like it's all right, right? And then you have some ankle rocker, but don't really use the feet as support. What you're going to use really for support is this tail. Now the tail, if you know the Gundam Epion's Flame Whip, it's very similar to that, but you do have each of these is individually articulated, and there goes the tail. My apologies for that. Just very easy to plug that back in though, nothing too crazy. But yeah, each of them is articulated. The tail is really dynamic, so you can get some really cool poses out of this. So as per usual, most SH Monsterarts tails are absolutely fantastic, and that is no different with this guy. So yeah, when it comes to articulation, this guy is pretty solid. Again, like I mentioned before we got into it, it's just a bit funky due to how he is asymmetrical in his design, and his balance is a bit weird because of that. Alrighty guys, when you factor in the support of that tail, you can see you can get him into some pretty alright poses, but with that all out of the way, let's get into the accessories, and there's really not that much, but at the end of the day, what they included was pretty cool and pretty substantial. So first off, he comes with two different left hands. So he comes with like this more open palm posing hand. It looks really, really cool, kind of like a grippy hand. And this one is also more of kind of just like an open hand in general. It looks really nice. They both look solid. Nice to replace them. It's very easy to replace them. Luckily, this guy actually, when you're replacing his stuff, unlike Destroya, very easy to replace. So you just remove it like that, and then you can just easily attach like that. And there you go. Now you have a new hand. Very easy to replace. These guys are really not that bad. Now the substantial parts are the stand and the flame effect part. So the flame effect part, we'll take a look at that first. Taking a look at it here, it looks really, really cool. And this is obviously supposed to go like here, you know, simulate the dragon head breathing fire. But very, very cool. Like, I really like how this looks. And it can be multi-purpose. Like, there is a lot of use for this flame effect, in my opinion. You can use this for Dragon Ball. You can use this for Godzilla. You can use this for a lot of different things. You can even use it for other, like the Red as Black Dragon or something like that. Like, this would be cool as like a after effect part or like a mid-air part. So if you want to see how to peg this on, so if we bring in the stand, we're actually going to set Wingman off screen here so I can show you the stand. So when we get to the stand, you come with like 3 bits here. So what I'll say about this stand is there is one bit on here I find completely pointless, and it's really just this arm right here. But you come with a sort of standard SH Monsterarts stand, but you do have the main part where he stands here. You have this part where you can peg in this part. So if you look closely, I don't know how well you're going to see this. I have to find it myself. It's right there. I don't know how well you can see that. There's a hole. There it is. You can see it pretty well there. That hole is just meant to peg right here. So just do that, and then that is meant to peg there. And then this will simulate that part. And then this part, it has these interesting grooves that the instructions show that you're supposed to essentially rest on the back of like this part of the wing essentially, but it's just so pointless. I just kind of use it to hold the wing up more than anything else in my opinion. Like, I'm sure once you slot it in, it ends up working okay, but the fact that it's like super like, I wish they would have just added like clips like they did like this, where they're like scissor clips type, where they just kind of clip in like this, instead of doing this whole shenamble, which doesn't really, in my opinion, do anything substantial. But to get him on the stand, it's really not that bad. So you just kind of split the legs. Now, the first time I did this, I kind of screwed it up, but you have like, how to describe this? You have this groove section on this part of the clip, and you kind of just push it into his butt and his tail, and it just kind of hooks in there. Let's see if I can do this correctly this time. Just move this out of the way because this is really annoying. But you'll feel like a substantial click when you actually get this correct. My apologies, there it is. So for this, it took me a second. I had to remove the stand part of it. But what you'll notice is when you go in here, it goes right below, like, you'd have to jam it into essentially this part of one of the segments. So you have, this is the base of the tail right here, and then when you're looking at this, you just have to jam that flat plastic bit of this under there. But once you have that on there, then you feel a significant push and a significant snap, and then you can just pose this guy accordingly. It actually gets him in there pretty well. And again, like I said, I just mainly use this just to support the wing. I don't really use it in the more intended way because I just feel like it's kind of useless. So I kind of just rest it on top of this like so, and then you can get some like something like this. We'll do this, and then you can do this. Again, this is just very quick. I'm just doing this so you can see it on camera, but there, like, oh, that looks cool already, right? Like, I just did that in a couple seconds, but you can get some, and then there you go, right? Like, that looks really cool, doesn't it? So you can get some really cool poses, and I'll definitely try and get some cool poses for the, let's see if I can. change the angle a bit here so you guys can see that a bit better. But yeah, like overall, this looks really freaking cool, and there's a lot of things you can do with this. And like I said, this flame effect part is multi-purpose, and it's one thing I think that other monster lines have missed so far. Godzilla, when it comes to beam effect parts, like just having this is really, really cool and adds a lot more value to the set overall. Now, this is not a cheap set. This was like, I believe, $130 or some dollars. But at the end of the day, I think it was more worth it than some of the other things that the Monsterarts have offered for even more than that, especially when they didn't come with any effect parts like this. The fact that it comes with the effect part, comes with the stand, comes with some extra hands. Like, at the end of the day, this is a pretty solid set, and I'm really, really happy with it at the end of the day. So, when it comes to the accessories, I think, despite the fact that there isn't a ton there, it's pretty substantial. Also, guys, my apologies for not working this in at the beginning of the review, but we're going to do this now because I forgot to do it. Here he is with the card. Now, it's kind of hard to compare, but when you're looking at this card and you're looking at him, honestly, it's pretty damn spot on. Like, there really isn't anything here that I would say is egregiously different or anything like that. And so when we're doing this, I think it looks really, really solid. And what I'll even do is I'll remove this and we'll put the animation model from what we saw in GX right here, so you guys can see. Again, looks pretty damn good in comparison, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, when you're comparing the anime, when you're comparing the card to the actual figure, it's pretty damn spot on, and that makes me happy. Alrighty, folks, so for my final concluding thoughts on the SH Monsterarts Yu-Gi-Oh! Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, I finally actually said it correctly for some reason. I don't know why I was having so much trouble earlier. This guy is a really solid figure all around. When it comes to the paint and the detail, this guy is pretty spot on. The only thing I have with the paint is that it's not jaw-dropping, right? Like, it does have a little bit of shading. A lot of the shading is mainly on the wings, and there's a decent bit throughout his arms and through a little bit of his legs and stuff like that. And the silver does look really, really nice on his claws, on his feet, and on his hands. Also, the head looks really, really good. And again, the details are spot on. However, again, it's just not jaw-dropping paint. Like, it's really good, but it's not like, oh my god, like, I'm going to fall over and faint because of it type paint, right? Other thing that I think is good is the accessories. Despite there not being a substantial amount of accessories, they are substantial in what they are. You get a stand, you get some arms to help that out with, you get a couple of extra hands, and you get a flame effect part. Now, the one thing I didn't explain in the video is, for those of you who don't know, Elemental Hero Flame Wingman's like whole thing is essentially the way Yu-Gi-Oh works. Monsters have attack and defense. Essentially, if you have Elemental Hero Flame Wingman and he kills a monster on the field, he deals the amount of damage, an amount of damage to you equal to the monster's attack points. So each person that you play in Yu-Gi-Oh has life points, which is like your health bar. And you know, usually you have something like 8,000, right? And so let's say Elemental Hero Flame Wingman kills a monster with 2,200 attack points. You take 2,200 attack points of damage from, not just, like, you don't just take the damage from getting killed in battle, but you also take the damage from the actual monster's attack points. So if you have, let's say, you know, like 4,000 health, you know, 4,000 life points left, you'll be remained with, you know, 1,800 after you get hit with the ability of Flame Wingman. But that's why the flame effect part is there. To simulate that moment. But the flame effect part is substantial too, because you just get, like, you know, it's multi-purpose, right? Like I said earlier in the review, you can use it for Godzilla, you can use it for Dragon Ball, you can use it for a lot of different purposes, not just even SH Monsterarts stuff, just a whole wide array of things. It's a really cool effect part. And I think that when it comes to Monsterarts figures, that's one thing is Yu-Gi-Oh has, for the Yu-Gi-Oh line that they've succeeded with, is that adding the effect parts like, you know, like Inferno Fire Blast or White Lightning, like the fact that they added those things is really, really cool. And I think that the other Monsterarts, Godzilla, can take an example out of that and just implement more effect parts into other lines, right? That'd be really cool. However, my main gripe with this figure is actually the way that it's designed, and it's not really the figure's fault, it's more the actual design of the character and the actual monster itself. It's asymmetrical, and that means that this guy tends to be top heavy, likes to fall over a lot on his own. You really need his tail to support him. Again, like I said, you can get him to stand on his own without the support of the tail, but it requires a lot of finagling with the balance and everything like that. Also, the one thing I didn't mention that was also good, articulation was also really good on this guy, despite him being very asymmetrical. Again, it's just sort of a little bit hampered by the fact that he is asymmetrical, which leads me back into that point. It's just, again, I just wish that they did a little bit of a better job of maybe making his feet a little more substantial, or widening them just a little bit, or giving them a little more surface area in general, just so that he has a better ability to stand, and maybe strengthening some of those leg joints, because definitely you do not want to display this guy standing on his own legs, because eventually I think over time those joints will wear out, because there's so much weight and pressure on them from the actual upper part of the body. But yeah, overall, when it comes to a score, I'm probably going to give this guy an 8 or a 9. Probably closer to an 8, because there's nothing jaw-dropping about this guy. And for the price, I think this guy's much more, like, reasonable in comparison to something like, I feel bad for comparing it, like Godzilla Minus One. You're paying nearly 150, 160 bucks for that. You don't even get any effect parts. You're paying 30 or 40 bucks less for this than that, and you get effect parts, you get a stand, you get extra hands. Like, you just get more stuff in this, and I think that's really, really cool that you get that with this, and that makes it, in my opinion, a much more better value in comparison to something like Godzilla Minus One, the SH Monsterarts version. And so I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so leave a link in the description to that. Also, leave a link in the description to Amazon as well, if I can find a listing for it as well. And yeah, I think that's really it for the video review. And so I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review. And I will catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.